They say mathematics is the language of the universe. In sports, we rely on numbers to tell us the truth, to crown the better player and explain the outcome. But on a humid Friday night at Melbourne Park in 2026, the numbers were a beautiful, chaotic lie. Imagine hitting a career high 26 aces. Imagine winning 12 more total points than your opponent across 5 grueling hours. Imagine landing over 75% of your first serves, a top 5 career performance. In any other reality, against any other human being, you walk off that court as a winner. But Yannick Sinner wasn't playing a human being. He was playing a ghost, a surgeon, and a 38-and-a-half-year-old miracle who performed a 5-hour extraction of hope. Today, the 2026 Australian Open is in the books, and while the dust has settled on the blue courts of Melbourne, one match remains etched in the history of the sport as a legacy boosting masterpiece. This isn't just a recap, it's a deconstruction of how Novak Djokovic white knuckled his way through a statistical nightmare to defeat a prime Jannik Sinner. This is the anatomy of a legend. To understand the magnitude of this semifinal, we have to look at where Novak Djokovic stood entering the 2026 season. At 38.5 years old, he was no longer being called the ageless wonder by the more discerning critics. Instead, he was viewed as a man beating father time in spite of his age. His 2025 season had been a roller coaster of fluctuations. There were the stratospheric ups, like winning the Paris Olympics on high, bouncing clay, but there were also jarring downs where his battery appeared empty by the later stages of majors. Adding to the drama was the Sinner wall. Entering this match, Yannick Sinner had become the grim reaper of Djokovic's late career ambitions. Sinner was coming off one of the greatest 2 year hardcourt runs in history, boasting a 94% win rate and going 92 to 6 across 2024 and 2025. Most importantly, he had beaten Djokovic 5 times in a row. The aura of the big three wasn't just fading, Sinner had seemingly dismantled it. Experts were predicting a straight sets demolition. They thought Novak had run out of juice. When the match ended, the stat sheet looked like a crime scene where the victim somehow walked away with the trophy. Let's look at the numbers that should have ended Djokovic's tournament. Total points won, Sinner 152, Djokovic 140. Sinner was plus 12 on the night. Aces, Sinner fired 26, the most he has ever hit in a match. Djokovic had 12. First serve percentage, Sinner landed 75.2% of his first serves, the fifth highest of his career. Sinner's career record when hitting 13 or more aces was 18 to 1. After this match, it's 18 to 2. As Andy Roddick put it, if you told me Sinner served 75% first serves and lost, you would own my house. Sinner was an F1 race car, explosive, powerful, and precision engineered. But Djokovic, he was the Toyota Land Cruiser that refused to break down in the desert. The opening set felt like a confirmation of everyone's fears. Djokovic started shaky, losing his balance on a weird forehand early where his feet looked stuck. Sinner broke immediately, raced to a 3-love lead, and closed the set 6-3. It looked like the 5 match losing streak was about to become a 6. But the second set revealed the first cracks in the Sinner machine. Djokovic white knuckled a break for 2-1 and then faced a terrifying love 40 deficit while serving at 3-1. This is where the clutch gene took over. Djokovic didn't just save those break points, he erased them with certifiably elite spot serving. T aces, and wide winners exactly when the margin for error was zero. He took the set 6-3. Then came the physical wall. In the third set, at 2-1, 15:30, Djokovic looked gassed. He was out of breath and seen going down to his knees. Sinner took the set 6-4, and the narrative shifted back to Novak's age. He doesn't have the lungs anymore, the commentators whispered. However, the fourth set saw a tactical pivot that Gilgross described as beyond legendary. Djokovic realized he couldn't win a track meet, so he turned the match into a chess game. He won 18 out of 23 service points in the fourth set with less than three swings of the racket. He shortened the points, protected his, protected his energy, and forced a fifth set. One of the most fascinating insights from experts like Andy Roddick and Christopher Eubanks was Djokovic's use of business decisions. At 38, Djokovic knew he couldn't play every point at 100% intensity. If he was down 30 love or 40 love on Sinner's serve, he would effectively throw the game away. He wasn't hunting insurance breaks or chasing lost causes. He was energy accounting. By letting those return games go, he ensured he had the adrenaline rush and leg strength to hold his own serve. It's why the total points favored Sinner. Novak was willing to lose the empty calories of points that didn't lead to a break, as long as he won the ones that did. The fifth set was where Djokovic, the surgeon, took over. The match was tied at 3-all, deuce with Sinner serving. In this pivotal moment, Djokovic deployed a tactic rarely seen in the modern era of angular, explosive tennis. He played lockdown middle. For an entire high stakes rally, Novak hit every single ball deep and right down the center of the court. Sinner loves angles. He loves redirecting pace to blast through you. By hitting it down the middle, Djokovic denied Sinner those angles. Sinner became indecisive. He was forced to create his own width from a low central position. He sprayed two forehands wide and long, handing Djokovic the break. As the match progressed to 4-3 in the fifth, Djokovic found himself down love 40 on his own serve. Again, he didn't panic. He hit the middle of the court, forced a backhand long from Sinner, and then delivered a series of undoubted winners. A backhand down the line, followed by a forehand down the line. He saved eight break points in the final set alone. Tactically, the conditions played a massive role. Djokovic at night in Melbourne is nearly invincible. The cooler air and lower bounce emboldened his flatter forehand. While Sinner's shots often have a lot of flight and spin, Djokovic's balls skid through the court nice and low. This forced Sinner to lift the ball up, which sat it perfectly for Djokovic to attack. Roddick noted that Novak's ball flight never gets into the opponent's strike zone. It stays below the hips, making it incredibly difficult for a tall power hitter like Sinner to stay aggressive without taking massive risk. For Jannik Sinner, this match confirmed a haunting statistic that will surely be discussed in every locker room on tour. Sinner has never won a match lasting over 3 hours and 45 minutes. He is now 0-9 in those marathon encounters. Experts argue whether this is a physical frailty or a mental clutch issue. Sinner is like Mike Tyson. He walks into the ring to knock your head off in the first three rounds. But if you can take him to the 10th round, if you can make him bleed out through patience and redirection, the dynamic changes. Djokovic proved that even when his own battery is low, he has the skill developed over 20 years of titanic battles to outlast the youth in the deep water of a fifth set. What makes this win legacy boosting isn't just the fact that it was an 11th semi-final win in Melbourne. It was the manner in which it was achieved. Djokovic didn't win because he was faster or stronger. He won because he was smarter. Roddick's nerd out analysis describes Djokovic's superpower of superpowers as the ability to switch directions on the ball without taking on extra risk. He can find the pattern in a matchup and exploit it at will. He used Sinner's own linear pace against him, redirecting the power so precisely that Sinner felt he had to hit around Novak, leading to the errors that defined the final games. Djokovic also used the crowd to his advantage. When he was struggling for air, a fan's whistle or a slow walk to the towel wasn't just gamesmanship, it was a skill. He knew how to grab an extra 15 seconds of oxygen, a 2% advantage that might be the difference between a double fault and an ace. As we look back on the 2026 Australian Open, this semi-final stands as the moment the new Big Two era was put on hold. Sinner may have won the math of the match, but Novak Djokovic won the moments. He saved 16 out of 18 break points. He won the 9 plus shot rallies 28 to 21. He proved that even at 38, he is the most amorphous player in history, changing his style, his pace, and his targets to hit a moving goalpost that Sinner simply couldn't crack. Novak Djokovic isn't just a tennis player, he's a master of managing the minutiae of 5 hours. He showed the world that while youth has the speed, the surgeon still has the scalpel. And in the high pressure theatre of Melbourne Park, that was more than enough. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into one of the most statistically improbable wins in tennis history. Sinner had the numbers, Novak had the soul. Until next time, I'm your host, and this has been the Melbourne Exchange.